What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and before we get into today's video, I do want to let you know that we have all new membership tiers on this channel. There are 3 different tiers for you to pick from, including ones that have access to a members only live stream that is going to be held once a month, as well as one that allows you access to a series preview before every single regular season game. That includes pitching matchups, pitcher analysis, bullpen analysis, as well as lineup analysis and who to look for. So if you're interested in any of that and diving into more perks on this channel, the link to the memberships will be in the description below. Anyways, let's start talking about baseball, because believe it or not, tomorrow the Boston Red Sox start their spring training campaign. That's right, the Red Sox are playing a baseball game tomorrow. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I am so excited. I can't wait. But before we get into that and start analyzing actual games, there are a couple storylines that have come out over the last week-ish of spring training that we need to talk about. Those storylines include things like what Tanner Houck's role is going to be going forward. Bobby Dalbec is getting some reps at shortstop, and Nick Pivetta has pulled out of the World Baseball Classic because of an illness. So that's what we're talking about today. We are going over all the storylines of the last week for the Red Sox of spring training. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe and like button. Help this channel out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Tanner Houck news, because this week Alex Cora in one of his daily pressers talked about what Tanner Houck's role going into the 2023 season may look like. He first started talking about Tanner Houck and what role he'll have in spring training, which is going to be as a starter. He's going to make multiple starts for the Boston Red Sox throughout spring training this preseason, but when the season starts, that role isn't entirely clear yet, and Alex Cora did say that there is a pretty strong possibility that Tanner Houck starts the year in the bullpen. And while in the bullpen, Alex Cora said that the best way to use Tanner Houck is to get as many innings from him as possible, indicating that he will probably be used if he were to end up in the bullpen as a long outing middle relief pitcher. And to me, this makes a ton of sense. When you take a look at the starting rotation currently on this Red Sox team, combined with the fact that for this rotation to be truly successful this 2023 campaign, the bullpen is going to need to be really strong, especially in those middle innings. So to get the most out of Tanner Houck, a long relief role seems to make a ton of sense. Now in 2022, Tanner Houck had an overall ERA plus of 134, meaning he was about 34% more productive than the average pitcher in baseball, and that was in 32 games. But if you break it down a little further, as a starter in 2023, where he started 4 games for the Red Sox, he had a 3.43 ERA, but as a reliever, he had a 2.70 ERA in 28 games. And we've talked about it before, but I truly think Houck's most important role of the 2023 Red Sox season is going to be as a piggyback to either Sale or Paxton. Both of those guys being fully healthy for a full season is going to be vital to this team's success, and if they're able to help both of them sort of regain 100% confidence and ability during the regular season by having Houck take 3-4-ish innings in those games where they start at the beginning of the year, that could be the difference between this team being good and this team being bad. So to me, that makes a ton of sense, and that expectation that Tanner Houck will be piggybacking one of these guys is getting closer to becoming a reality based on Alex Cora's latest comments. The second biggest sort of storyline to come out of the last few days of Red Sox spring training is that the Red Sox may be using Bobby Dalbec as a shortstop during spring training. Again, in one of these pressers Alex Cora had during the week, he mentioned the fact that they want to give Bobby Dalbec some reps at shortstop in spring training this year. Now, it's not exclusively going to be at shortstop. He's still going to play first base and third base, but they did want to get him into a couple of games up the middle of the infield throughout spring training. And the reason for this is for a couple of things. They want Bobby Dalbec obviously to still get reps at first base, and with Rafael Devers playing in the World Baseball Classic, it makes sense to give Bob some reps at third base. It is his natural position and one that he is actually statistically better in than first base, and shortstop's kind of a similar situation. Kike Hernandez is playing in the World Baseball Classic, so there is going to be an opening there in the middle of the infield to plug in really whoever you want. Bobby Dalbec is athletic and has played shortstop at the major league level before. Granted, it was only one game. So if the Red Sox really want to get Bobby Dalbec his reps in during spring training and maybe even try him out for a bench spot or something like that, it makes sense to give him as many ABs as possible. And with shortstop being a position that's open throughout spring training, it makes sense to me that he's going to get some reps there. Now, honestly, this was a bit surprising at first because in my opinion, I thought that with Kike Hernandez being in the World Baseball Classic, that the shortstop position was going to be used almost as a tryout position, a place where guys who aren't on the 40-man roster, non-roster invitees, can play and see if any of them truly gel with this team to the point where they earn themselves a bench spot to start the year. And I still think that's going to happen. I do think that this shortstop position is going to be used almost as a tryout position throughout spring training, but that list now includes Bobby Dalbec, although again, I really don't think he's auditioning to be the backup shortstop for the Boston Red Sox going into 2023. But if I'm the Red Sox and I simply don't see him fitting in at first base, and obviously you just paid your third baseman $330 million, you probably don't see him fitting in at third base either. It might not be a bad idea to start trying Bobby Dalbec out in different positions. Like I've mentioned, he's a very athletic player. He's got speed and he's got athleticism behind him that allow him to play multiple positions. I'm just a little bit surprised it's shortstop and not second base. I thought, hey, might as well throw Bobby Dalbec at second base throughout spring training, see if he can fit a little bit better over there. It would be nice to see Bobby Dalbec sort of be used as a backup utility type player on the Red Sox bench throughout 2023, because while Bobby Dalbec did have a rough year in 2022, he finished it pretty strong. He finished the month of August with a .255 batting average with 1 home run and 3 doubles. Then in the months of September and October, he finished with a .308 average with a homer as well. So he did finish the year strong, and maybe there's a little bit something left in the tank for Bobby Dalbec, and maybe that is in the form of an infield utility type player. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I don't think this means that Bobby Dalbec is our backup shortstop. It's just going to be really interesting to see sort of how they use Bobby Dalbec in spring training. And finally, the last sort of tidbit of news coming out of the first week of spring training for the Boston Red Sox is that Nick Pivetta is no longer participating in the World Baseball Classic. He decided to back out after having been dealing with an illness over the last couple of days. Now, this illness is confirmed to not be something serious or super long term, and when Alex Cora was speaking about Nick Pivetta, he indicated that this illness will not affect Nick Pivetta's availability to be ready come opening day. So we really don't have to worry about putting him on the IL or anything like that. He's going to be good to go for opening day, and he's still going to be able to prepare for the regular season. All this really means is that Nick Pivetta was not fully prepared for the World Baseball Classic, and he will not be participating. However, there was something else that Alex Cora mentioned when talking about Nick Pivetta that piqued my interest a little bit, maybe even more than the illness, and that is the fact that over this last offseason, Nick Pivetta has put a huge emphasis on being a quicker pitcher on the mound. What I mean by this is last year in 2022, Nick Pivetta had the slowest starts of any pitcher on the Boston Red Sox. His time in between pitches was the #1 on the Red Sox team, and with the rule changes coming in 2023, he was the guy that I was focusing on to see how he would adapt. He's an emotional pitcher that takes his time and has to calm himself down or talk to himself on the mound during starts. How is that going to be affected by the pitch clock? And it looks like Nick Pivetta is trying to be one step ahead of that change, which is a really good sign. Alex Cora also said there was a bit of a tick up in his velocity as well, so hopefully we see that during spring training, and hopefully we see that during the regular season, because that would be absolutely fantastic. Because to be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea what to expect from Nick Pivetta in 2023. Going into 2022 last year, he was a guy I was super high on. I thought that with the end of 2021, he was going to ride that confidence, ride that momentum into 2022 and be a really solid pitcher for us. And not that he wasn't really solid for us in 2022. He had the most starts on the team, and he was a guy who you could depend on every 5th day, which is wildly important. But one thing Nick Pivetta was lacking in 2022 was consistency. Going into 2023, we see a lot more consistency on the mound with Nick Pivetta. I think that not facing the AL East as much is going to really help with that. And I don't think there's going to be as much pressure on Pivetta this year than there was last year, because last year at one point he was the only legitimate major league starter in our rotation because there were so many injuries. This year, hopefully is a little bit different. So am I expecting huge things from Nick Pivetta in 2023? No, but I am expecting a bit more consistency, and it looks like he is already trying to get ahead of the pitch clock and put himself in a better position to do that. Again, illness has taken him out of the World Baseball Classic, and it is setting him back a little bit in his preparation for the regular season. But again, it has been assured by multiple people, including Nick Pivetta himself, that this illness is not something that's going to prevent him from being good to go for opening day. And that's really it in terms of big storylines that could affect the 2023 regular season for the Red Sox. And before we get to actual baseball, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of these storylines? What are your opinion on Houck as a bullpen arm? What are your opinions on Bobby Dalbec getting some looks at shortstop? What are your opinions on Nick Pivetta backing out of the World Baseball Classic / changing his delivery a little bit? What are your thoughts on all of those? Are there ones that intrigue you more than the others, or are there storylines that don't intrigue you at all and you're confused as to why I put this in the video at all? Let me know all your opinions on these storylines down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys hit the like button on this video as well. Helps it out a ton and would mean a lot to me. New favor to ask here, do me a favor, if you are interested in becoming a member of this channel and unlocking some of those new fantastic perks we put together and really dive into the Red Seat community, again, the link will be in the description below. Do not be afraid to click on it. Thank you all very much for clicking on this video, and I will see you in the Red Seats.